Even as a slower reader, I have had several years where I read over 100 books. Not this year though, but we're not going to talk about that. So I know it's possible, even as a slower reader, to read 100 books a year. So here are the tips that I use to make it happen, and hopefully they are helpful to you too. But disclaimer, whether you read 100 books, whether you read one book, you are a reader, period. Like, you don't have to read 100 books. This is just a video about how to read more. Okay, so tip number one seems a little counterproductive, but it works, and it probably is the most important tip out of them all, and that is to stop reading books you're not enjoying. When you're forcing yourself to finish a book that you just don't like, it takes longer to finish it because it feels like a chore. You don't want to read it as soon as you wake up. You don't want to read it in your free time. You don't want to read it on your commute. Even while you're reading slower because you just don't care that much. Put the book down. Put the book down. If it ain't good, put it down. Throw it away. Don't throw it away. Donate it. But you know what I mean. Just get rid of it. Stop reading it. And it gives you more time to read the books that you are actually interested in, the books that maybe you will speed through because you actually care about what happens. I have put down books within 3 pages before because I could just tell that the writing style isn't for me. Yeah, do that. Okay, my next tip is to schedule reading time into your day. You can schedule it in as soon as you wake up, right before bed, maybe during your lunch break. Like, just make time for reading. It's that simple. You put everything else into your schedule. You can schedule free time too, and part of that free time can be reading. Swap scrolling on your phone, on social media, or any mindless activity for reading time. If you're tempted to spend hours on TikTok, maybe instead you could read a few chapters of a book that won't rot your brain, because TikTok is like the reason for brain rot. Like, it was bad enough before, but when TikTok came, it just, everything went downhill. Read a book instead. Okay, you can try tracking your reading for motivation and for fun. For me, I love using the app The Storygraph because I like stats. I like to know how many books I read in a year. I like to know how many pages I read that year. I like to know what my top genre was and all that type of stuff. So yeah, Storygraph tells you all of that without you having to do anything but to log what books you're reading. Okay, another thing that you can do is set a reading goal for the year, or for the quarter, or for the week. Like, just set reading goals if you're the type of person that loves hitting goals. I love hitting goals. So if your reading goal is to read 100 books in a year, set that reading goal, and that's something that you can also do on Storygraph. You can put in your reading goal and it will tell you how close you are to finishing your reading goal. So it'll say, okay, your goal is 100 books. You just read one book, you're 1% towards your goal. But honestly, make it a realistic goal. Do not burn yourself out trying to read 100 books if that's not your thing. This whole video is not only for people that want to read 100 books. If your reading goal is to read 5 books in a year, make yourself read like 1 book per quarter and then add an extra book somewhere. And you can also break down your goal to make it less daunting. If your goal is 100 books a year, then you can say, okay, I want to read 2 books a week. If you read 2 books a week, then you will be at 100 by the end of the year. Or if your goal is 50 books for the year, then just try to read 1 book a week. Okay, so for some reason, I read ebooks faster than physical books. So give that a try if you haven't. If you have a Kindle or something, just read a little ebook. It goes by quicker for some reason. I don't know if that's true for everyone. If that's true for you too, definitely comment down below, because I want to know, like, am I crazy, or like, is that true for everybody? This personally is my absolute favorite tip, and that is to join readathons or reading challenges. So there are 2 different types of readathons. There are readathons where you just read as many books as you can in a given time period. So some people do like weekend readathons where all they do is read. They clear their schedule and they just read and see how many books they can read. And then there are the type of readathons that I personally love the most, which have prompts and reading challenges for you to do. And with prompt-based readathons, it'll be like a prompt. It'll be like, read a book with a pink cover, or read a book by a black author, or something like that. And one thing that I love about prompt-based readathons is that it helps me to read books that aren't particularly at the top of my mind. Like sometimes when I see a reading prompt, I have to look through my list of books that I want to read in order to find a book to fit that prompt, and I wind up finding a favorite that I would not have read anytime soon. So that's another benefit of readathons. I actually host a reading challenge. It is called the Black Horror Reading Challenge. It is for the whole year for 2026. I also did it in 2025. And so yeah, it is to read horror books by Black authors. If you want more information for that, I will have it linked in the description. I love to take part in readathons and I love to host them too. So make sure to subscribe to me because I do host readathons throughout the year because it's fun. Okay, my next tip is to take a book with you everywhere. And I do mean everywhere. Especially if you have a Kindle or if you read books on your phone like me. I read a lot of books on my phone, so whenever I am waiting in line for something, I could just pull out my phone and read a book. Or even if you just put a physical book in your bag to take with you. Like, if you have trouble concentrating for long periods of time, you can try reading sprints. And what reading sprints are is, if you're familiar with the Pomodoro, I think that's how you pronounce it, technique for studying, it is basically where you just read for a certain amount of time. Like maybe you read for 30 minutes and then you take 10 minutes off. And then you read for 30 minutes and take 10 minutes off. And just keep doing that because like it'll help you concentrate for longer before your mind wanders. So you can try that if you have trouble concentrating for long periods of time. Okay, so you can also try different reading formats that you don't usually read. If you don't feel like reading a thick, wordy book, you can try reading a poetry collection or reading a graphic novel or comic. You know, something that's easy to digest. Poetry is not easy to digest for me, but you know what I mean. Something shorter, on the shorter side, or just try something different and it may reinvigorate you and your love of reading. Okay, so my bonus tip is to listen to audiobooks. If you do not have the energy to read with your eyes, you can just listen to an audiobook, especially if you have something to do. Like if you're cleaning up, you can put in an audiobook. If you're working out, you can put in an audiobook. Now, I personally can't do this because I can't concentrate on audiobooks. I do not know what them people be saying. It goes in one ear and out the other. I thought that I was getting better because I listened to a full book in an audiobook. And then like a week later, I couldn't tell you nothing that happened in the book. I don't know how it ended. I don't know nothing about it. Okay? I just remember I liked it. And that's all that matters. So audiobooks are not for me. But a lot of people get a lot of reading done with them. I wish that I could read them so that I could read while I clean up and do other stuff. But my brain said no. But whether you read 100 books a year or just one book a year, you are a reader. Do not let anybody tell you any different. Also, if you read over 100 books, you are also a reader because people like to act like for some reason you're lying about the number of books that you read just to look cool. Like, some people really can just read a lot. My mom is an amazing reader. She can read an 1,000-page book in a day. Like, so let's not act like the amount of books that people read determines if they're a reader or not. Okay? And as long as you are enjoying the books that you're reading, then you are a reader and you are succeeding. If you need recommendations for books to read, please subscribe to my channel. I am Taya Kennedy and I give a lot of book recommendations. I also have this playlist that you can check out full of book recommendations and reviews. So yeah, watch that next and I'll see you there.